We're going to talk about cropping images to size using Photoshop. I have an image here that's in an InDesign document, and the image has been placed. It's where I want it. It's got the amount of image I want showing. And what we would call this is an FPO, or for position only. Now, when we use that term, it means that we're going to be going into Photoshop and actually cropping it to size. Getting rid of the excess image. So when I talk about excess, if I click on the image in the frame here, we can see that there's some hidden image. That's excess. That's going to be excess information in a file. It's excess data. It's unnecessary weight that the file would carry in the production file. So what we would do is crop to size. However, we do want to remember that InDesign, upon exporting, if I go to File and Export here, upon exporting a PDF, we do have the option in the compression setting to downsample. So this was a large image, very large, very high resolution that was scaled down a fair bit to about a fifth or a sixth of its original size. That means we've kind of compressed all of that resolution down into a much smaller image. And when we send an image that is very high in resolution, and it's not set to the standard of 300, that image is going to, we're at risk of some ink saturation in the production process. So we really want to make sure that at the very least, upon our production export to a PDF, a print-ready PDF, we are downsampling. So what this is indicating is images above 300 pixels per inch will be downsampled to the standard print resolution of 300. And it's also got the option to crop the image data to the frames. That's great. So what it's going to do is essentially get rid of that excess. It's just going to discard that information and make sure that only the image that's showing is what's going to be included in that production file. What we have to remember, though, is that that is a superficial reduction in the resolution of that image. It's not actually changing that image file, it's just changing how it's being coded into the PDF. So ideally, we're going to the image file and doing crop to size. That's going to be much better for print quality. Now, these days, the difference is almost impossible to see, but it still assures that when we crop to size in Photoshop, we're actually getting the quality from the image and not relying on an export to reduce that quality to 300, or that resolution to 300 ppi superficially. So I'm just going to cancel this. What I need to do first is take note of the image size and the location of the crop. So again, there's some excess here. So when I go into Photoshop where I have the image, I'm just taking a reference of where it's cropped to and using my properties window to know the size of that. So right now I've got the image selected. I want to make sure that I have the frame selected. So now it's showing the size of the frame. So I'm going to use these numbers. I'm just going to copy the width while I'm over here. I'll copy that. We'll come back for the height. I'm going to go over to Photoshop where I have the image, and I'm going to go to the crop tool here. Now when I click on the crop tool, it's going to bring up these fields at the top. They're unmarked, but we'll see what they mean in a moment. And what this is going to allow me to do is enter specifically the width, the height, and the resolution that I need. So I will go to where it said ratio. I'll go to WH resolution. That stands for width, height, and resolution, the three things that I know I need. So width is going to be here, height will be here, and resolution, of course, will be here. And we want to assure that we're working with pixels per inch, not pixels per centimeter, pixels per inch. I copied that width from my InDesign file, so I'll paste it in here, this being the width field. It would be great if these were titled when we selected from this menu, but it's okay that we're not. We know that this is the width, the height, and the resolution. I'll go back to my InDesign file, double click and copy that height, and I'll paste that there. And then I know I need 300 pixels per inch, so I'll enter that. And you can see the frame adapting. Now what this frame is doing is it's responding to the proportions that I've entered here. But knowing my file, I'm going to go back and just take a look. There's no excess up in the corner, just on the sides, on the right side and the bottom there. So I'm going to make sure that I reference where that crop is happening. I'm just going to grab a couple reference points here just beneath that noodle there in the image and the leaf there. So back in Photoshop, I will move the image. I know I don't have any excess up here. All of my excess is happening here. So I know I go right to that point of the leaf here, down below the noodle there. That's great. That seems to be where it is in my InDesign file. Now, sometimes we need to be extremely exact, and we would use grids, and sometimes I have to use screenshots, anything you need to do to make it exact. But in this case, and in most, we can eyeball it. And I've got all my data there entered. So I'm going to click the check mark or press return. And that's going to crop to size. Now what that is done, we can see down below in the lower left that it's cropped it to the size we need, and it's at 300 ppi. So that has truly changed the resolution properly to the standard print of 300 on the image. It's not superficial through the export, it's actually doing it to the image. One thing you want to remember when you're placing an image into InDesign for final print, you are not to use PNGs or JPEGs. PNGs and JPEGs are truly meant for screen only. And when they go to print, if they print, they don't print at their optimum. They don't really print correctly, especially when it comes to the color coding of the file.